and gentlemen, welcome to a podcast with Impression. He is from B.O.O.T, Dreamscape, and they have recently qualified for ESL Cologne. He's one of the finest players in Asian Counter Strike. Hi, Impression. How are you?
Hey man, thanks for having me, KRiPz. Sina as well. It's great to be here. Maybe one of the finest Counter-Strike players in Asia would be a bit of an overstatement, but thank you
No,
for the
I like
compliment.
that.
Really appreciate it. So yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, Impression. Now, our viewers are fairly recognized. I mean, fairly I'm what am I what's the word that I'm looking for? They know who you are, but they don't know how you actually got into professional CS. They want to know what
Uh,
your history is and how did you actually start playing Counter Strike. So can you tell us a little bit about your past before you were a professional player and how you began your journey over here?
um, so this year I'm 22, right? This kind of I'll try to simplify this and make this short. So this year I'm 22. I actually started playing Counter-Strike like 1.3 when I was 5 years old. So that was like 17 years ago.
Whoa,
Yeah, that
5
was in
years
like
old.
Yeah, that was in like LAN cafes in Singapore, and that was when the CRT monitors were still around. You know, your keyboard gets destroyed with one hit, and then the mouse is actually the ball mouse, so it's
Yeah.
not like a sensor mouse. You have the
Mhm.
ball, and sometimes it gets stuck and stuff. You have to remove the ball, and then they blow it and crap, right?
Yeah.
So I started playing games when I was fairly young, and
Mhm.
then I kind of got hooked onto games. The entire idea of like living another life, another persona, the it was just fun to me, right? And I started playing competitively when I was 13. I
Mhm.
played various different games. I started with like this first-person shooter called Blackshot, and then I went to Battlefield. After Battlefield, I went to League of Legends. I played competitively in League of Legends as well. And after everything, after like 4 or 5 years of competitive gaming, of various different games, I went back to Counter Strike. Back then, Counter Strike Global Offensive just came out, and I started playing competitively then and there. I started off with like clans that you join and like mixed teams that went under clans, and then from clans I kind of got I really wanted to be the best in Singapore,
Mhm.
and I eventually beat back then the best team in Singapore, like Dreamscape. And after a while, my own team started failing, and I decided, hey man, why not join Dreamscape, right?
Yeah.
I already
You
beat
can't
them,
beat them, you
so
can't win.
yeah, I already beat them. So for me, I already beat them. So I was like, since I already beat them, and they're still the best right now, I might as well
Yeah.
join them, right? So I joined them. Dreamscape did well for a year back in 2016. We had quite a wonderful year. We got top 8 or top 6 in the Ages, like the Asian game for esports that was held in Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And then we also got second place in the ROG Masters Finals in 2016. And that it was then and there that we actually got spotted by B.O.O.T, my current organization, and
Mhm.
we got picked up as professional players. We managed to come up with a like a deal with the organization to become their Southeast Asian sector kind of team. And from then on, I've been playing professionally, and from then on, it's been a lot harder. So I would say like I've had a fairly long journey to becoming an actual salaried and paid professional player for. Like I'm just sitting here playing games, right? A lot of people think, oh, that's the dream job, but I can tell you that
It's
it's really
not. It's
difficult.
definitely
Yes, of
not.
Yeah,
course, man.
yeah, it's really difficult. It's really hard. It's something that you need to put tremendous amount of effort into, and well, qualifying for ESL One Cologne is one. It's like the personification of or actually like the hard work and the tremendous amount of work that you basically just put in, just showing itself. So that was great.
Let's come back to ASL1 Cologne. First, impression. Tell us a little more about Boot. Tell us if they have other organizations or what kind of a relationship does Dreamscape have with Boot?
Um, right now, B.O.O.T, or Boot for short, is actually our main organization.
Mm-hmm.
So Dreamscape is actually a team under Boot. Boot used to have a Chinese squad, like a Chinese CSGO squad, but that eventually disbanded as well because I don't think they were doing too good. They were like
Mm-hmm.
top 8, but they couldn't break through because the
Mm-hmm.
Chinese
Okay.
obviously have very good players, have very good teams. So it was kind of hard for my organization to actually support like 2 CS:GO teams.
Mhm.
So right now,
Okay.
as things are, we actually have like us Dreamscape, the CS:GO team that basically right now representing the Asian scene for Counter Strike, and then we also have a PUBG team as well. Um, mainly the reason why people outside of mainland China don't know so much about B.O.O.T is actually because of the fact that everything's on Chinese social media, right? It's like on
Yeah.
Weibo, it's on WeChat and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So we hardly get eyeballs from around or the rest of the world. So that's kind of, in a sense, I think it's kind of up to us and to do well for our organization. And our relationship with them, I mean, we have really like a really good working relationship with them. There are times where kind of disagree on certain targets, but I think that's fine. That has to happen because when you actually come to agreement after having differing goals, targets, or objectives, then you come to common understanding, and then you just work together even better. And right now, our CGO Harley DSN, obviously like the legend from Fnatic back then, Counter Strike 1.6, he's someone that's really easy to work with. He understands how it is to be a player. He understands many things about the game as well, and he helps out a lot as well. So it's great to have him around.
I believe. Go on, Umesh. Go on. I was saying.
So, what's like the difference of being an independent team, working on your own and having your own rules, being comfortable in your surroundings, and then working for a proper organization? How does the structure, I mean, once an organization steps in, there's a certain structure and a more, I don't know, sophisticated way of handling things. How does that really change the scene? How does that change the landscape? Did you enjoy more when you were working independently, or did you enjoy more now that you're a part of B.O.O.T?
Let me just quote my coach here, Alex. He was a player for us back then, our in-game leader, and right now our coach, right? Let me just quote him that CS is not fun. Winning is fun.
Winning is
So,
fun.
yeah,
Playing
winning is
stressful?
fun. So, yeah, so that's the thing, right? So, when you're a professional player, you have certain targets to hit. You have your KPI looked at by your company. You know, you must reach a certain result or you must hit a certain performance. Otherwise, obviously you get reprimanded or worse yet, many different kind of penalties can happen, right? So this is something that this is the major difference between being an independent team and being under an organization, because when you're under an organization, you have people that you have to report to. You have to tell them, oh, this is how we're doing, this is what we want to do. I need your help in this resource, or I think we're underperforming in this sector. What do you think we can do to help ourselves become even better, right? Whereas being an independent team, like we practice really, like for example, practice is really loose, it's really laxed. You only start practicing really hard like before a tournament. But then when it comes to being like a professional team, you have to do that like 24/7. There are times and there are perhaps like weeks on where you don't really have anything on your tournament calendar that you can slightly slow down a bit. But otherwise, you still have to practice. So I think in a sense, the major difference is freedom. Perhaps how free you are, right? Like I honestly feel being a professional gamer, you have no social life. Like my best friends are my teammates. Yeah,
That's
like
true.
my big brother is my coach. My younger brother is the guy that just came in like winter, and then and like Splashkey, younger people than me, and then like my dad is like DSN, right? So he's like, oh, you Counter Strike now, yeah. So so I mean that's the major difference. I find it hard to have time for my family sometimes, especially during like the past 2 weeks. We were really busy with tournaments and practice. I didn't see my mom because I stay away from my mom, right? I didn't see her for like 2 weeks. So that's kind of something that you probably kind of miss, but at the same time, you're working hard for a target, a goal, objective in mind.
So, what do you personally prefer? Do you personally prefer Dreamscape or do you prefer B.O.O.T Dreamscape?
I would say B.O.O.T Dreamscape. First of all, I travel a lot more. I see everything. I've been to
Nice.
so many different provinces in China. I've seen so many different like historical objects. Tried the food. I mean, China is amazing. Every time I go there, there's something new, right? It's so nice. And then I've been to like various different countries as well in Europe. Even going to Australia recently was quite interesting because the food there is so expensive. But the team Tams, oh my god, the team Tams are so good. It's insane. Yeah. So yeah, I prefer B.O.O.T Dreamscape. Winning feels a lot more like an achievement. With Dreamscape, maybe you have the mentality that hey, we're an amateur team. We don't practice as much. It's okay to crash out. But when it comes to B.O.O.T Dreamscape, intensity is really on. You're like, we gotta get here, guys. We gotta do it. And then when you do it, you're just like, yes, like all the hours you put in, holy crap, man! You just like, whoa, and that feeling in itself is really amazing.
Right.
So, what does the practice schedule look like for Boot Dreamscape? Like, what does a professional team do different from an amateur team that really sets the skill gap so wide?
I think right now an issue with Asian teams in general is practicing smart. You got to put your hours in the right place, right? So, for example, a team that perhaps is really good, like communication, teamwork wise, you want to work on strategies, things to pull out, gimmicky stuff that you can do when like everything else just goes to shit, right? And for maybe a team that has players who are fairly new, you want to work on the basic stuff. And I think practicing smart is something that Asian teams don't do well enough. And there are a lot of amateur Asian teams, right? Most professional teams are based in China. For Southeast Asia, there's maybe like every country maybe has like one professional team. And then even then, I think we're not putting practice in the like we're not approaching in the correct way. But I think the major difference is actually the amount of hours amateur or independent team will have as compared to a professional one, and also obviously the resources and the help that you get as a team. Like they don't for me, I personally don't have to worry about peripherals. For example, I have hyper access my keyboard, my headset. Headset's sponsored. I have Zoe as well for my monitors and everything else. So I don't have to worry that much, and I just have to play the game and make sure I play it right. So I think that's the major difference of being a professional. You just do your job and you make sure that you do your job to your utmost, your utmost and maximum performance, right? But when it comes to an amateur team, yeah. And I think when you're from an amateur team or maybe an amateur player, you still have to. There's certain things that you have to worry about, like how much am I putting in, like is this amount of hours like sufficient enough for me to go professional, or sometimes you just simply don't have the time, right? Because the pros and cons of putting in hours may not weigh in your favor, because maybe if you put in too many hours, you put in too many hours, you have your real life work to worry about, or you have to worry about your school, like your attendance or your grades and stuff like that. So I think that's major. That's mostly the major difference. It will probably be just the amount of hours put in and how smart you put, how smart you treat practice and you approach practice.
Right. So how does a regular gamer, an average everyday gamer, go from being a regular gamer to a professional? What sort of changes do they need to make? Is it simply just the number of hours that need to be put in that's required to change, or is there a more structured approach to practice that they need to take? I mean, can you please elaborate on this smarter practice that you said about?
I think, okay, for first of all, I think the major difference, like not the difference, like how you categorize amateur players and professional players is the fact that whether or not they're getting paid to do what they're doing. So me myself being professional means that I'm getting salaried and I'm playing this as my job, right? But for an amateur player, that might not be so. So the amount of effort and the amount of time that they put into the game itself is different. So that's the first thing. And then even then, if you practice smart, right? By what I mean by practicing smart is probably working on the things that actually make sense. So, for example, right now, if you look at Counter-Strike, right, the meta is really like throwing a shit ton of grenades at people and killing that one guy, right? If you look at it like
advantage up.
Yeah, like Astralis is doing it, and then you have even I think Navi or
Navi
VP just naded the shit out of Zeus or something, and then they threw like 5 nades at him, and eventually he died, right? So that's kind of like following the meta game, right? So right now, if you're an amateur team and you want to practice something, you think you got all the basics covered, you think you got all the things necessary for a team to be good, like just the foundation of the team is covered, and you're thinking, what should we learn now? So obviously you think of the smart things to do. Right now you learn the nade meta, right? Like how every team is dominating and Inferno is doing a hell of a lot of like nade damage, right? So this is what I mean by practicing smart, right? Just doing the right things and obviously practicing and perfecting the things that work and not like
keeping up with the meta.
Yeah. Keeping up with the meta, you could always create your new, like your own and a new meta game. But
Hmm.
what is it worth it to put in the hours to do that, or is it a smarter decision to just follow what the pros are doing? And especially coming from Asia, we have so much to like catch up on. Like
Yeah.
you see teams like Tailu already catching up because they did so well in IM Sydney, and I have no idea how to do it. Like how they do it, it's like incredible word. Like credits to them. So I think that would be an example of practicing smart. Just like really think about the game a lot and doing the right things, right? And not just like for example, like if your aim is great, right, and then you just can't find yourself being able to pull out that aim on, let's say, the Inferno. So obviously, what you need to do is go into Inferno and figure out like which angles are the angles that you have to pre-fire, your crosshair placement, and everything, right? Instead of like, for example, going to aim bots and killing 2,000 bots, they're just stationary and there's no angles whatsoever. You won't learn anything on the Inferno by going to aim bots. That's
Yeah.
just like
Okay.
the mechanic that you're sharpening, but it's not actually practicing the map that you are weak on, right? So this is kind of practicing smart as well. That's
The map
just my
awareness
opinion. There's
testing.
yeah. There's a lot of ways to explain it, but this is
Yeah,
probably how I would explain it.
it makes sense. Absolutely.
So, what's the difference between European teams and like European American teams and Asian teams? Why are Asian teams still considered underdogs?
I think first of all is exposure. Like if you look at Asian teams, immediately comes with the Asian teams that immediately come to mind would be MVP PK, Tai Lu, G Flash. Teams with that has been to and on an international stage for quite a period of time, right? Really well-known players, really well-known names like Summer, Attacker, Bentet, the
I'm really
entire Tai Lu
surprised.
squad, basically, right?
I'm really surprised how you're not naming yourselves.
No, I don't. I
That's
don't
really
think
for
we've
being
been.
humble.
I don't think we've been doing too well. It's only recently that we managed to pick ourselves together and like really qualify for stuff. And I personally don't think I'm well known like internationally, like Asia, yeah maybe, but obviously when people look at Asia, they think of Pentet. That's the first
Yeah.
thing. He's like the Asian Nico, right? And then you
Bented,
have
yeah.
crazy players like Attacker. Like Attacker can just play a game by his own and win the map
Yeah.
just like that, right?
Mm.
And then
Even
I mean,
Joking, I think, is one of those players.
yeah. It's like the Asian players. You have crazy like players that already broke out on the international scene. Like way back, crazy guy did it, right? Like the Beast from the
Yeah.
East, entire thing, but
Yeah.
couldn't follow through. So like when you look at Asian players, right? They're definitely not talking about. Okay, they talk about one guy in my team, Benkai, or Winter, because Winter's from Kazakhstan. Benkai is insane, right? And Splashkey as well. And me and Tommy were more like the behind the scenes guys. We're either going in to die first or we're throwing stuff so that we still go in to die first. So there's there's no room for us to be like the stars. So I think
Yeah, that.
so I think the main thing is that there's only been so little teams. Back to the point, right? So little teams and so little players that been like had the experience and exposure internationally. So perhaps that's the main reason why. And also because like the players and the teams that go to these international events, right? They don't really share what they learn. Like, and people generally don't
Okay.
ask them, right? So
Okay.
within Asia, you have this like really closed off scene that's not teaching each other anything. Like other than Australia, because Australia is so far off, and I think it's kind of hard to arrange practice with them. Like we tried recently, but then because the internet lines between I think Singapore and Perth was disabled or something for like I have no idea. It's undergoing maintenance, so
Okay.
we actually have like 300 ping to the Perth servers, whereas on the usual like on the daily basis we have 60. So it's kind of hard as well. Like geologically, it's just a bit hard to difficult with Australian, a bit hard to practice with Australian teams. Sorry. So I think so yeah, Asia's really closed off, and we're not teaching each other enough. Obviously, there's a language barrier. First of all, most European countries, most European players can speak English.
Yeah.
You look at FPL, everybody speaks English there. You look at So Strong Next, Thai speaks Thai, Vietnamese speak Vietnamese, Indonesians speak Bahasa. Everybody's confused. People shouting chicken coop. 10 guys looking at chicken coop, and you're like,
But
no,
they all
he's
have
dead.
different call-outs for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are the type of things that makes us players that don't really like. It doesn't make us bad players. It just doesn't help us become good players, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
You
that's an
brought up a
issue
very
for us.
interesting point about the knowledge transfer between the teams within the region, right? You said uh, teams are not able to learn from each other because of language barriers and multiple other reasons, or it could be that they just don't want to share what they've learned from a certain experience.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do you think that is the case in EU? Or what I mean to ask is, do you think people in EU or in NA are actually sharing those experiences, learnings with each other?
I'm pretty sure that the infrastructure for esports in like Europe and the Americas is much more different, meaning that you have a lot more players that has a lot more exposure, and then because of player transfers and stuff and like constant
Okay.
tournaments,
Right.
and you always be facing off each other. You always be like you're constantly in a state where you're fighting to be the best, right?
Hmm.
And because of that, you're showing everything you have, and people are studying, and people are learning. But us Asians, we don't study from the Europeans or the North Americans. We just do whatever we think we get us to win in Asia,
Hmm.
and then when we go
Yeah.
to the European stage, or we go to international stage, go to Europe, we go to North America, go to wherever else in the world that's not Asia, we screw up. Like we drop the
Right.
ball, like it just goes boom, and then that's it. You lose. Like my team went to Malmo, we got 16-2 twice. That's it. That was the end.
Right.
There was no longer a run for us in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when we went there, the only thing that I think it's been a year, right? So the only thing I remember from that was that our CS was not a type of CS that worked on the international level. So I tried to change things, revamp things. It took so long, and then finally we've kind of started winning again. And yeah, it's been ages since my team has done well, even in Asia actually. So
Nice.
I think right now when we go to ESL One Cologne, right? When we go to Cologne, we're gonna really try our best there. Even IM Sydney itself was very educational. Like we played NRG on cash, and right now everybody's afraid of our cash because
Yeah,
NRG
I
stomped us on
swear.
cash. And then we are like, hey man, these guys, they know what's up. So, so we kind of just looked at him and we're like, Alex is a very hardworking coach. He's just like sitting there watching demos like 7. And then he's just like, guys, do this, do this, do this, you win on cash. And then we just started winning on cash. Everybody's like, first ban their cash, first ban their cash.
First
And
ban,
right now there's
exactly.
yeah, right now
Respect
there's a
that.
tournament going on, like the You Win Asia Invitational, and then everybody's just banning our cash, and we're just like, okay, something's
Ah.
gonna change.
Who is a better coach impression? Is DSN a better coach or is Alex a better coach?
Oh man, that's a tough one because honestly, I think the things that DSN did and the things that Alex did is doing, or actually they're both kind of doing for us right now, is pretty different. Um, I think I think if anything, I feel that DSN he's like this well of knowledge that you
Yeah.
could always pick into, right? He's won so many tournaments. He's a champion. He is a champion, right? It's as simply put as that. And you can learn so much from him just like by asking his opinion. Like, how do you think we should improve? He tells you a tip or two, right? And then you try it out for yourself. You do some statistics, and then you realize, oh, this thing does work. And that's what DSN is able to help us with. But Alex helps us on the more. I think he helps us on a more like team level, and also as a more mechanical level because he's telling us. I mean, he does things kind of systematically. So let's say he looks at 10 cache demos, and then in these 10 cache demos, he realizes all these teams have this exact strat. There's a reason why. So he tells us, okay, guys, you gotta figure this out. Okay, I will help you out I'll help you out with this, and then you gotta figure this and this out. And then once we got it down, and then we dry run like a certain strat or anything, and then that's where like Alex is really helpful to us as a team, like for us as a team, because he's giving us the right things to practice. And like how I like emphasized early on that you need to practice smart. He's right now helping us practice really smart, and that's why we're able to win. Yeah, because we're getting all the right habits, we're getting all the right we're we're just forming good habits, and at the same time we're practicing hard, and basically we're just doing what we should be doing as professional players. So back to the question, I would say both of them both of them are equally good coaches.
Very
They just coach
diplomatic, bro.
different.
I
Yeah,
asked
they
you.
just coach
Very
different things.
diplomatic.
Yeah.
Well played, sir.
So about what you said, that even though you're good in the Asian circuit, when you go abroad, when you go to non-Asian tournaments, is it like being the bigger fish in a smaller pond? Is it something like that?
Uh, I think you got it backwards. Is that being the small fish in the big pond,
Smaller
right?
fish in the bigger pond.
Yeah. For I think a good comparison would be like being a really small fish in the Atlantic Ocean, because
Okay.
this isn't about ponds anymore, man. Like the moment you travel out of your own country, out of your own region, especially, you you are despised. Nobody gives a crap about you. You're just there to fill the slot that they give to Asia. But then that's what everybody,
Okay.
right? But for us as players, our aspiration, our goals, our targets is to go there and beat some team. We want to show, hey, Europe's not everything. We got us in Asia, so that's something that we really want to work hard for. That's something that we actually did. Even by qualifying, it goes to show like we are putting in the effort. Now we just gotta find a way to like beat the European teams, beat the North American, the South American team. Tailu definitely has the right
Tel is making
idea.
a
They're
lot of
definitely doing
progress.
something right.
They're
Yeah,
on it,
I'm not.
bro. They're
Yeah,
getting somewhere with it.
yeah. They're going somewhere with it. Some people may disagree, but for now, as the results are showing, I think they're doing well.
Yeah.
So we gotta take something away from them, or at least I'm pretty sure right now, like everybody's trying their best to do well for themselves. But also at the same time, it'd be nice to see if the entire scene can just come together and then just do things right together. I think that would be
Yeah.
great. I think that's something that's been missing for such a long time. The Asian scene isn't united on the Asian front. That's about it. Like
Okay.
yeah, everybody wants to do well for themselves, and everybody's trying their own method to doing it. I think that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, but it could be done more effectively. And I don't know. We'll see how things goes. Like when my team goes to Cologne and we come back, I'm pretty sure we'll learn a lot. That's for sure. And then by then, I'm seriously just thinking like everybody should just share your trade secrets, man. I mean, we gotta do it. Whoever
Help
does
each
the
other
most
out.
work will be the one that wins, right? So
True.
we'll see how things goes. Yeah. So I think Asia, any team from Asia going into an international tournament is gonna be like the tiniest fish in the ocean. So we gotta, I mean, think of it as a game, right? Just start off by eating like freaking planktons or something, and then they grow up to be a big,
And then
a
make
great
their way
white.
up to the sharks.
Yeah. So
You mentioned
hopefully
that.
that's
You mentioned that. You mentioned exposure is a big factor. So if you get to play and practice against these European and North American teams more often, like scrims or whatever, even in smaller tournaments, do you think that will accelerate the pace at which we are progressing?
Yeah, definitely, because nobody wants to go to LAN to lose. That's one thing. When you lose, you feel absolutely horrible about yourself. You're just like, oh man, I did all the wrong things. Oh, this mistake. You make a mistake on LAN, you never forget it for the rest of your lives. Right? Like it will stay in your head. Okay, like I have so many moments where I would just regretted it. I just think like, why didn't I shoot this guy? Why didn't I, why was my trigger discipline too good for my own sake and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And it just stays with you, right? And that's kind of what I mean by exposure and experience as well. I think those two things kind of go hand in hand, because if you're experienced enough on LAN, you gotten enough exposure by going to like attending multiple tournaments, you kind of learn enough, right? And then when it comes to playing the big boys, you're gonna do well, or you're at least gonna do like your average, and not like just let your performance go to absolute shit because you're nervous, or you feel that you're not you feel like certain situations you don't know how to handle because you just haven't encountered it yet. So I think, yeah, and also exposure also kind of means that companies are looking at you. That goes for all sorts of companies. Which also means like if people are interested in you, you get more support, get more resources.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, on a amateur player being picked up, let's say into a professional team, and then he's now a professional player. He doesn't have to worry about his peripherals. he doesn't even have to worry about whether or not he can get an energy drink, right? It's gonna be there, and then
Yeah.
the company is gonna provide it. Yeah, so stuff like that.
And Dreamscape is a living example of that, right? I mean, you guys got picked up by Boot only because you were doing well on the LAN circuit.
Yeah, I think Dreamscape, like back in 2016, we did quite well for LAN actually. Like we were just purely amateur players. We did good for ages. We got third, fourth for I think Zhao Extremes LAN. We shared that placing with the Mongols, and then Vici back then, Vici Gaming back went on to win it. Renegades was the second, and there was there was a Renegades that was expected to win the tournament. So, and especially ROG Masters, we got second for that. Granted, there are a lot of teams who are at WSG, I think. So as an amateur team, we went pretty far, we did quite well, and I think that was actually why we got picked up as a team. Like we were purely amateur, salary, nothing. Back then our roster consisted of we actually had a doctor in our team, Lumberjack.
Yeah.
This really buff, muscular guy.
He's a
You guys
doctor.
remember him?
Okay.
Yeah, he's a doctor, right? So we were purely amateur players. And back then I was just done with national service for like a week or two, like in ROG Master. So yeah, going from amateur to professional is a huge leap, especially as an individual, because you're like, oh yeah, I made it. Because this was something that I've been dreaming of for like more than a decade, right? Decade and more. And making it just feels good, right? It just helps you as a player, and then you have the right motivation, you have the right skill set for it, and you just kind of just keep going.
True.
Okay. But that's where it starts, right? Oh, you get there, you're a professional gamer now, but that's where the real journey starts.
Yeah, definitely. That's where everything you've ever known in your life just goes to shit. Because you're like, yay, I'm a professional gamer, and then suddenly you have to do this more, you have to do that more, and then you're like, wow, this is difficult. Well, before that, you're just thinking, yeah, I'm gonna play games, I'm gonna earn money, I'm gonna win tournaments. No, you're not. You're gonna have to practice, you're gonna have to work hard, you're gonna have to offer your life, you have to sell a soul to the devil for CSGO to even give a shit about you, and then you're just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm still gonna win. Let's try that. So, I mean, it's great. It's still great. I still love it. I play games for a living. I can't complain, and I have people around me who are amazing. My teammates are great people. We've all made mistakes in our tenure in the team together. We all, did some really stupid shit to each other. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, we still treat each other like brothers. We still treat each other like family. And I love each and every one of them, right? Like,
Good to
seriously.
know, man.
Yeah, so I just feel like these are the bunch of people I want to win with, and these are the bunch of people I'm gonna win with. So yeah, that's that. I mean, still a bit salty about the fact that being a professional gamer is not a dream. It's a dream. Something you want to achieve. It's something you want to achieve, but it's not. It's not like in the dreams, right? You just don't go to a low stage and win. Yeah, and then all the girls go fangirling you. Oh, oh man, you gotta work hard, guys. You gotta work hard.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Indian scene? What do you think about the Indian CSGO scene impression? Have you had a chance to meet any other Indian players? I know for a fact that you met them at Extremes LAN 2 years.
Yeah.
What do you think about the scene in India?
I think the Indian scene is fairly closed off to the rest of Asia, because I think it might be a location thing. I'm really not sure. I know India has a huge population, right? There's a lot of players, but not everybody can. But not all the talents can afford a PC. That's the sad truth about it, right? It's just an economical thing. And then you have really good players who people look up to. Like, for example, Ace Ibra. Like, he's a god in India. Like, he's a god. Like, everybody's like, hey, Ibra, what's your settings, man? I gotta be like you. Like, even back then when Wolf attended ESL, I think it was ESL. I think it was Cologne as well, right? Yeah. 2014 when they took like
15.
9 rounds off of NIP. I can't remember. Like, they
went 16. They went 7-16 against NIP.
Yeah. They got 7 rounds off of NIP, right? And then they came back, and then, like I said, the history just kind of repeats itself, right? Nobody learned from Wolf. Wolf had players that went international. They had the experience, but I don't seem to remember them sharing it or like teaching the rest of India about it. So it's kind of like knowledge transfer as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people look up to Ace, people look up to Ibra, and then they just like, hey man, you're really good. Wow, your settings wrong. Hey man, you're really good. How do you think about the game? How do you keep yourself in shape for the game? You could even if Ibra was a healthy guy, he's not, by the way. I know him personally, so he's kind of like a bit of a shit talk, right? So, what do you eat for breakfast? Stuff like that. And I think it's important for the Indian players to share with them, with each other, like what's good and what's not. Like last year for Extremesland, we played Entity,
Yeah.
like Scully Hunter, Ibra. I can't remember the other two names, but those are the three names I remember.
It was
because
Invictus. You played Invictus last year.
Was it Invictus? No, it wasn't Invictus. I think they were Entity. Were they Entity?
Yeah. No, it was Invictus. I was there with them,
Was it
right?
Invictus?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. It was like they kept
it was-
changing up.
Yeah.
Oh shit, sorry about that.
But that game
yeah,
came quite close. It was a very good game. I was
yeah.
standing there.
The game was quite close. That's why, like, I mean, Hunter was insane, but I have no
Yeah.
idea where he is now, right? So that's one thing. He's gone AWOL. I have no idea where he is now. And then that's kind of thing. Like for the Indian scene, you have the players, you have the right. I think you have the right skill set for it. But the thing is, it just never seems to get cultivated in the right way. Because I think players have problems with each other a lot, and then there's also like ego issue. I think I'm not sure. I'm just grasping at straws here because I personally don't take note of it because in my point of view, sad to say that India is not a threat yet. That's what I feel, and that's I'm looking forward to Optic coming up because I think Optic with Akitas. Kitas is an insane guy. He played in Singapore, played internationally. You know, he has a lot of like knowledge about the game, and he has the right way of coaching players and teams into being good at the game. So I'm looking forward to Optic coming up. Like when he was coaching Entity with Mazu, I think Mazu, Sai, and a few other players inside of it, I knew that they were going to be a threat. It's just a matter of time, right? But then I think that kind of broke up as well. So right now I'm looking forward to Optic because I just feel like Optic would very possibly have a place in like the top 10 in Asia.
That's nice.
Nice.
Well, you did mention that they break up too often. I want to start this topic on how does these lineup changes, if you keep on doing them often, how does it affect the team? I mean, I know that Winter was recently added to B.O.O.T Dreamscape. How were things before he joined and how were things after?
I think just to share a bit with Dreamscape, right? Before the addition of Winter, we kind of have a motivational issue. And then because of this motivational issue, we just weren't working as hard. We were playing the game for the sake of playing it. We weren't playing the game. At one point in time, I kind of came to a point where it's like we were a bit like disheartened to play. Like it just really wasn't the right motivation. We didn't have goals. We didn't have targets. We're just playing. And wasn't very good state for a team to be in, right? But with the addition of Winter, he's studying in Singapore, right? And then just to share a bit about his personal objective and goals is that he actually studied in Singapore with the full intention of joining Dreamscape. He chose to study in Singapore just so he could join Dreamscape. And then this was his goal. And then he joined Dreamscape. And the moment he joined Dreamscape, he's like, guys, I want to win. Okay, I will win. Right? And we're like, okay.
Blood.
Yeah, we're like, okay, yeah, let's win then. And then eventually all of us started putting in a lot more effort, started putting in a lot more time to practice. Like, I myself had a motivational issue at one point of time. I was hooked on PUBG, right? Terrible toxic game. Never played it. Especially if you play Pro CS. And I mean, it's fun, right? And then I was hooked on PUBG at one point of time. I didn't like, for example, in Counter-Strike, I didn't bother with deathmatching. I didn't watch demos. I just played my game, tried to, kind of just wing it. Bad idea. And then Winter came in, and then everybody's just like, okay, this is what we got to do. This is the rules that we're gonna have. for the remainder of our time together as a team, and this when we're gonna stick to it. We're gonna work super hard, and then we're like, all right. So as you can see, like after when Winter first joined, we won a bunch of qualifiers, and then we went to ESL Pro League, the APAC finals. Unfortunately, Bankai wasn't there with us, so we kind of wasted a bit of time because we had to. I wouldn't say wasted time, but more like our practice wasn't efficient for the long run because we didn't practice with Bankai. I had to practice with B.O.O.T for that particular tournament, etc., etc. And after IM Sydney, after we actually were out of the tournament, we still had a practice room. So all of us just sat down and just like, hey guys, what are we gonna do about this? How are we gonna find the winning ways, right? And then we just talked about it. We had a lot of conversation. Like at one point of time, like 24/7, everything and anything that's on our mind is about Counter-Strike. And then I think we kind of managed to build a good habit for that. And then now we're just really motivated to win because we know we can do it, right? Like beating Tai Lu isn't something that just happens because it can't be a fluke, right?
Yeah.
Especially beating Tai Lu in the best of 5 whereas they were one up. They already one up. They already one upped us, right? So and then
it was really interesting as like you lost to them in the starting of the tournament. You fought all the way through the lower bracket, and then you scored revenge against them. So I think that was really interesting. I mean, at least for me, it was very interesting to watch.
Yeah, it was quite a storyline, right? And I think we weren't prepared well enough when we first played them, but then a week's worth of hard work, and back in when we met them in the grand finals again, I mean, we weren't pressured to win because we already we already know like we can take maps off of, especially since us and Tai Lu kind of have this like we kind of have like a rivalry, but at the same time it kind of feels like Tai Lu. I think Tai Lu is so much further ahead than us right now in terms of experience. So I think being able to beat them is a really good feeling. It just goes to show that hard work really triumphs all, and then with the right amount of effort and the right way of doing it, definitely can. I mean, in a sense, pull off miracles, right? Like, because I think most people think that was a miracle, but for me, it was a testament to the amount of effort we put in, and a lot of it is because we have the right motivation. We have the right mood in the team, the right atmosphere. Like, of course, we do argue. We do have moments where it's like we disagree with each other, but then it's all worked out, and then you just carry on. You just pick yourselves up, and then we carry on, right? Even when we lost to Firepower in the Asian, like the Southeast Asian minor qualifier thing, which I'm still kind of unhappy about. We all sat down and then we all just like, guys, man, this sucks. Let's never fucking lose again. So we're like, even more motivation to do well now. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned this. I feel that CS is the kind of esport where players burn out really quickly. You mentioned being motivated is really hard. So what do you do outside of CS? Like, how does B.O.O.T Dreamscape stay together as a team? What do they do outside of CS?
I think we try to hang out as much as we can. I mean, we watch a lot of movies together, and that's pretty fun. Like, I think right now, like the past 4 Marvel cinematic movies we've watched together, like.
Oh man.
So
that's important, right? I mean, if it was all Counter-Strike, I mean, I think all of you eventually couldn't tolerate each other also. So I think Marvel Cinematic Universe plays an important role in teamwork.
I swear, if this was not a CS podcast, I would just go on for hours and hours about Infinity War.
So that's quite cool for us. We also play a lot of other games together. Like it seems like we just whenever like Counter-Strike gets tiring for us, we just try to hop onto another game like together. And like as much as we try to do that, of course we also limit the hours that we play other games. Especially like during like peak hours, peak weeks, where we have so many tournaments. But otherwise, we like I said, you don't have a social life. So who can you spend your time with? You spend your time with each other. Still, you're just like, hey, you're my best friend now. So like, want to play this game together? All right. And then other than that, I think personally, we all have our individual stuff to take care of. Like we all have our family. Tommy is very family orientated. I am as well. And then you have your girlfriends and all that crap, and People find a way to relax, yeah, and we seem to be able to relax both as friends and as teammates. So that's something else. There's something else that really like puts us together. All fingers on the same hand, palm.
Very good.
How many hours do you practice in a day?
Oh, how many hours? Okay, for the last 2 weeks, because we officially went on break like after the Asian minor. So
Hmm.
I think for the last 2 weeks, our practice was, man, we woke up at, I personally woke up at 12, and then we usually get online at about 1 or 1:30, 2 p.m. And then we would just basically be talking about the game. So I'll just consider as practice, right? All the way until like maybe 11 or 12 at night. So we're basically
Oh.
we're basically with each other for like 8-9 hours. And
Wow.
I know teams that actually do more than that, but for us that was necessary because we had a lot about the game to talk about. Every map takes like at least 2 hours to talk about completely, both CT and T side. So yeah, that's a lot of hard work, and that's kind of like the peak hour type of hours that you have to hit, right? Personally, for me, I hit maybe 85 hours per 2 weeks,
I think
and
Sina just went. There's something wrong with his webcam.
oh man, all right,
Sina, my boy, you here? Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, I'm here.
all right.
Go on.
Yeah, so basically, I hit 80 or 90 hours per 2 weeks. Our team,
Wow.
we did 8-9 hours together as a team every day for like 2 weeks. So in a sense, we kind of did like I think that's actually pretty much the norm for full professional teams.
Yes,
But
of course.
for
I mean,
us,
any job is 8 hours a day of work, right? So I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
that's very normal.
So you'd
That's
have like
that's good.
8 to 9 hours a day for like 5 days a week or 6 days a week, right? For us, we did that for 2 full weeks, and then because we actually have players in school, right? Splashkey and Winter is actually schooling, so we try
Okay.
to adjust. Yeah, all of us we just all come online at the right time, and then we start the day. But then as for Splashkey and Winter, they just join us whenever they can. Right? So we all put in like quite a big amount of effort, and that effort just put through as a team. But that's like really when you need to grind hard for it. And otherwise, if we are more busy in terms of in terms of school, we are more busy, and then there's not as many tournaments. Sometimes we start at 5 and then we end at about 1 or 12 or 1ish. So it's like maybe 6-7 hours instead of like 8-9 hours. So it's actually quite flexible because either way, this is a type of like being a professional gamer is a type of job where you honestly have to put in your own effort. It's not just like going to your office and then sitting in front of PC, getting X amount of tasks done, and then you go home for the day, right? It's more like you start your day, you get in front of PC, and then you sit down, and then first of all you either do the task that you assign. Like let's say our coaches, Harley or Alex, they gave us like this task. They're like, okay, find out this thing and then do it. Or when we're done with that, we still have to do personal practice because you don't have to deathmatch or you don't have to shoot bots or do your own demo review when your team is there, right? So this is the type of like extra things that you have to put in for the extra effort that you have to put in for the game if you want to really improve both as a player and as a team.
So, do you have like a bifurcation of time? How much time do you spend practicing individually? How much time do you spend practicing with the team? And what activities like do you do in the team which help you improve your teamwork and your coordination?
I think I just keep track of my hours, and then I also know like during like this particular week how many hours we're practicing. So on top of the hours that we're practicing as a team, I try and put in my individual hours as well. Sometimes I have to relax. I have to play some funny games and or like funny parks, or or I just go and play a park seriously and then try something new that I found out, stuff like that. But I think when it comes to communication and teamwork, it has to be a lot of foundation building. It's like you can't have a skyscraper like 100 stories tall if you don't even have
Unless
the
the
base.
foundation is strong.
Yeah, and then that's where kind of Singaporean teams have like a good we have a good advantage for this because back then we had back in 1.6 we had Titans. This team led by I think Akitas was part of it. I'm not really sure,
Akitas
but
plays for Titan. I
yeah,
saw
yeah,
that.
yeah. So we have like that foundation from way back for how to communicate as a team, how to play off of each other, use your teamwork, and also times you have to play for yourself, etc., etc. Right? So this was kind of knowledge transfer from like 1.6. So all of us basically had like the base foundation for being communicative and players that kind of try to use teamwork as much as we can. But also at times, bad habits come out. You stop doing it. So I think this was something that's very fortunate for Singaporean players. For our team, when it comes to communication and teamwork, now we have protocols, we have basic foundations, and then we just keep working at it, right? So it's kind of like you have this big slab of concrete that's your foundation, but then the skyscraper you're trying to build is actually requires finesse. So you're just chipping away at the edges, trying to make it like really well shaped for whatever building that you're about to build on it. So yeah, that's basically communication and teamwork, I think.
Yeah.
That's a very graphic example of, or a very graphic way of explaining. I
I'm a good
enjoyed it.
explainer.
But a very good way.
Not bad.
That's a very good way, though.
Yeah, so that's probably how I put it, and I think many people have differing opinions on it. Like some people say that you cannot talk and still be a good team. I agree and disagree at the same time, but yeah,
Each man to his own.
every country has their own
Yeah,
like their own system to it. So that's
yeah,
something that's
exactly.
Talking about
It's wrong to
systems
say
of
one is right or one is wrong. I think everybody, whatever works for whoever is the one that should be followed.
yeah, like it just depends on your country.
Yeah.
About countries, what's the local scene of Singaporean CS look like?
Oh man, we have no scene. Like there's no LAN tournaments, there's no leagues, there's no online tournaments, there's basically nothing. And then we have good players, good teams. For Singaporean players and teams, I can think of Devious, I can think of Resurgence, ISG, all these teams probably wouldn't have heard of because we just don't get to play each other much in Singapore, especially. And then there's also Vindicta. I mean, there's 4 teams that I think are really good in Singapore, and then they never play each other in a tournament setting because
Okay.
or maybe they do like once in like a quarter or like once in like I don't know half a year, and it's really quite sad for me personally because I think like the Singapore scene is kind of at a standstill and it's just really stagnant, and I just hope like more competitions and tournaments will start showing up in Singapore. Doesn't seem that way yet, but I do notice that some teams are winning qualifiers for smaller tournaments in like for example Malaysia or Indonesia and stuff. So hopefully the Singapore Counter-Strike scene will be able to elevate itself without us being around, because I think we're too busy to cultivate anything, because I mean we're still at the end of the day we're still pro players, right? So we gotta work on ourselves, and we gotta really like drill ourselves
Of course.
as players, yeah, to try and prove something on an international stage. So hopefully the Singaporean players will find a way to get it done. I guess for me, I always think that they could come to us. We try our best to help them, but that also depends on whether or not they're willing to do it. Because honestly, every player has an ego, and then sometimes you just refuse to admit that you're not as good as
As you think
people
you are.
obviously, yeah, like people who have more experience than you and stuff. So hopefully they'll do well. I'm pretty sure they will. They are really, really talented players in Singapore.
Great.
So, in your opinion, who is the toughest competitor in Asia and in Singapore locally?
Locally, I would say it's a toss-up because the last time I played the Singaporean team on LAN was like last year in September or August. So it's been quite a
So
while,
it's been a
right?
while.
Yeah, or maybe October. I really can't remember. But I think for the Asian scene, we probably have like Tyloo and MVPPK as like the top competitors. Tyloo obviously being Tyloo, they have like great players from. They have like essentially the way I look at it, they essentially have the two best Chinese players, the two best Indonesian players, and then they have like this. They have like a well of information that's as good, if not almost as good, if not almost as very close to being as good as DSN, right? Like with Captain Mo, right? And then I think if they can really find a system, which I feel like they kind of have already, they could really do well, and that's what's been happening. So those are definitely like the toughest competition. But as for MVPPK, I think they play a game of their own. Like they have their own meta game, so it's actually kind of weird to play against them. And that also at the same time makes it quite annoying to play against them, because sometimes they pull like the most insane things, and you're just like, what the fuck just went on? Why did we lose that round? And then shit like that happens when we play MVPPK, and that's probably also why they're one of the toughest like teams to play against.
Because they get their own meta. That's why.
Yeah, I think they're playing their own meta game. So that's what I feel. They have
If you
this
were
like
to-
solid system to it.
If you were to rank the top 3 teams in Southeast Asia, according to you,
Make it top
including
5.
make it top 5. Let's include Australia and make it top 5.
Oh yeah, let's not forget those guys.
In the entirety of Asia?
Yeah, APAC.
Oh man, that would be hard, because I personally think like Order and Greyhound fit into the list for top 5 in Asia, right? And then I'm pretty sure. Okay, I probably can't rank them like 1 to 5, because obviously never played each other enough, right? So
But
I think
just top 5. Who would be in your top 5?
who would be my top 5 would be Greyhound from Australia. And then you got Order from Australia as well. And then I would say Tyloo, MVPPK, and us. Firepower will go into this if they will fix their lineup. I have no idea what's going on with their lineup. And I feel like they have the same issues as VG Flash. I don't think they're able to go inside of it yet. Because I feel like VG Flash doesn't have like actual caller. So sometimes it seems like they're lost. Yeah, but they have such good individual players.
Yeah.
If one of them picks up the calling role well, right, then obviously they'll be in there. But in terms of like pure, if you're ranking on pure talent, yeah, VG Flash would be inside it. But then if you're ranking on teams, right, I would say VG Flash wouldn't go inside of it.
Okay.
But still, I mean, it's kind of a toss up, right? Like I mentioned about 5 Power, they will be inside of it if they'll fix their lineup. And I feel like 5 Power have the same issues as Tyloo in terms of communication and stuff. That it will be hard for them to get things together unless they have like Tyloo has Bentet. He's a really hardworking player, and also like he is actually a really smart person, right? So he knows how to like make a system out of whatever he has, and he has done it. But with 5 Power, maybe that does. I don't see that with 5 Power, so it's hard for me to say. Like I feel like they, like I mentioned, I think they have the same problems as Tyloo, but they just maybe don't have the same amount of individual prowess to it, or just maybe the right.
Makes sense.
I don't know. Like I don't know 5 Power well enough, but I know Tyloo well enough. So maybe I'm a bit biased here. So yeah.
Yeah, possibly. But all right, I think you're right about the teams.
Yeah, but you are definitely right about the lineups. I mean, the Chinese do. I mean, at least in the last 1 month, they have undergone a lot of roster shuffles. VG and Flash Gaming, they just went together to make VG Flash, and then the remainder players, I think HZ, TB, and it was Savage. They went on to form Fierce Tiger. Yeah, oh my god. Oh yeah, what are your thoughts about the recent controversies surrounding Fierce Tiger?
Oh man, I don't know where to start, man. I mean like, I honestly have no clue, because first of all, I don't know any of their players, like on a personal level. Played against them, chit chat a bit, but I don't know them. So whatever happened in like the Fierce Tiger roster, it all seems so shady. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards like I think Fierce Tiger is just shady, right? But I can't say that for sure because I really have no clue. And
Okay.
my opinion would just be, I don't want any on this. Like, I don't want in on any of
You
this.
want to
Right?
stay as far away from it as you
Yeah,
can.
I will stay as far away from it as possible, because for what you know, the next thing that happens is, my internet gets cut off. Crap like that.
But yeah, it is shady. I'm gonna admit. Even though VG Flash, they didn't directly point fingers at Fierce Tiger. They just said that internet was cut off. But then, let's be honest, indirectly, everyone felt that.
Yeah,
They are pointing
definitely.
fingers towards Fierce Tiger.
And with the backband and stuff, it makes it even weirder. So
Yeah.
I think
People showing up in teams.
there are a bunch of people that I just don't really want to associate myself with, because I don't know what's really going on with them. And I would say, like, whatever happened to them right now, I don't know if they deserve it, but I mean, it has to have had a reason for them to be, officially like disqualified and stuff.
Plus.
Agreed. So we have a pretty interesting question coming in from the YouTube chat here. You mentioned about smart practice and you mentioned about viewing demos. So we have a question here. This guy says that, what do you usually look for when you're going through a demo? Do you just let it play and come across something good, or do you keep your eye out for certain specific things?
I think first of all, whenever you go into practice, you have to approach it with the right, I think, state of mind, because you want to know, like, what is it that you're trying to learn from. Like, for example, if you look at pro POV, you're gonna want to learn what angles he's holding, and then the way he the way he picks angles, and then how he positions himself and how he shoots, right? But then if you look at your own demo, which most players don't do enough, if you look at your own demo, you're trying to fix your mistakes. So you're trying to see when you are out positioned, when you spray too much, when you should have, just held your shot, and basically your own mistakes, so that you can fix it. But being a in-game leader, I also watch demos to try to find like a new plan or new strategy that works. Like, for example, Space Soldiers are a really innovative team. They make a lot of interesting stuff. So I like to sometimes go and steal certain things from them. And then I mean, Australia is obviously the masters of default CS, right? Control of an area, control of another area, and then you control another area, and then you swing between both sides because you got so much control. And then you execute like to perfection, right? Australis. This is the things that you want to look out for when you watch a demo as an in-game leader, or a demo as if you're trying to find out like what teams do, what's the recipe to, and what's the recipe to success. What will win you Counter-Strike maps and games, and that's what you want to look for. So I think that's basically about it. You can also learn, like, if you watch a pro demo, if you watch like a support player or someone who's like really innovative with flashes and smokes like Valde, someone that's hardworking, right? Then you learn a lot of like one-way smokes and crap like that. And I think that's interesting to do as well sometimes.
So is it more important to look at your own demos and work on your own mistakes, or should you instead look at your opponent's demos before a match and try to come up with strategies that can directly counter them?
I think it depends on the type of team that you are or type of player that you are. Like, for example, I play A on Mirage, and then let's say I'm playing some team on Mirage, and then I plan on playing them in like a best of 3 or best of 1, etc., etc. And I know what I want to watch for when I watch their demo is that how the opponent's moving, right? How is this guy who defaults Palace as a terrorist, or Cave as a ramp as a terrorist? How is he? What his quirks? What is the tells that he does? How does he position himself? Like for the A split, or for the A execute, or when he's just like aggressive looking or passive looking, right? So these are the things that I want to like his little gimmicks, his little tells, all these things that I can abuse, right? That's how I would personally try and counter-strat. But there are also teams that specifically counter-strat something. I think that involves a lot of hard work, and the right skill set to pull off. I would generally think that in Asia you want to avoid that.
I think
Maybe
you can
you
start
should.
doing that when you're
Yeah.
building the 100th floor of your building, like once you've
Yeah. So it's
you've
something that's like
mastered everything else.
it's something that's like top 10 HLTV rankings, yes.
Yeah.
And people are just like trying to kill a guy. Like for us, I'll be frank, right? Like for us, the way that we approached playing Inferno against Tyloo is go to banana, kill Bentet. His terrorist default there, kill him, right? Just kill him. We're a player up, and then that's how we win rounds, right? So that was how we approached playing against Tyloo. So these are the things that I think at our level we should be doing. But actually not necessary in a sense, because I think at our level as well we need to really build on our CS and really build on your own individual play, your own team's play, and then making sure like this is something that works and just keeping it and then working on the next thing rather than having to, I would say like teams do it, but just I don't think we have the skill set to apply it yet.
Okay. What tips would you give to a regular gamer to improve? Is it possible for a generic gamer to actually get to a professional level?
Yeah, of course. I think tips to improve would be maybe work hard. I think really just work hard. You have to work hard and you have to work smart, right? Like you have to look at the game different light. You really want to improve. Sometimes it's not a game anymore. Sometimes it's not something you do to relax anymore. Because like my coach says, I mean CS is
It's
not
not
fun.
an enjoyable game.
Yeah. Winning is fun. So if you really want to win and you really want to improve, then just do whatever you can. Learn from all the best players in the world. I mean, if every top 10 team in like on the HLTV rankings flashes a certain way to this area in the map, there has to be a reason. Find out why, and then just think about it, right? And then once you realize, then there's something new that you learn, and then it's just like filling up pages on your own book of Counter-Strike, and then like slowly going through it to the point where you find that you're good enough as a player, and that's how it goes. I mean, first of all, you have to cover the basic like mechanics, right? Your movement, your aim, and everything. But
And
then
you build.
if you really want to be good, yeah, you have to start building on a lot of things. So it's possible for any gamer, anybody who's interested enough in Counter-Strike to become good or to go to a professional level. You just have to put in the hard work for it.
Okay.
Right. There's a guy on the YouTube chat right now. Hold on. His name is... Okay, I lost him. Rishi Vijay Kumar. He is insisting on us congratulating you on qualifying for KSL
Alright.
alone. Says make Asia proud.
Thank you so much. I really hope we'll be able to. I mean, we're putting in quite a bit of effort for it. So at least we will be putting in quite a bit of effort for it for like the next month. We already have the training plan all set. And yeah, I think we really want to do some damage against the European team. For our own sake and for the sake of Asia as well. Like we don't want Tyloo to be the only team that can do well on the international scene from Asia,
Definitely.
right? Yeah, so that's something that we're trying to prove to the rest of the world, basically.
Great.
Here's another interesting question in chat. So he says that what do professional teams do to maintain, like this is not completely related to CS, this is more like building up a fan base. How do professional teams build a fan base? What do they do in order to interact with their fans? Do they live stream for them, or
They do podcasts on air.
they do podcasts on AFK? There's your answer.
I think my personal opinion is it depends. Like for example, if you look at Optic and FaZe, they started as a Call of Duty clan. They made Targets and stuff. It was insane, like 360, 720 no scopes and crap. And people were like, whoa! And then they started having a following. They did well in tournaments, and then people were like, whoa! And then eventually it just blew up, right? So I think building a fan base is kind of about hard work as well. I used to stream, and then I eventually stopped streaming at one point in time because my PC was crap. Didn't feel like it. Can't enjoy anything at all. Like
I know that feeling.
interacting is fine, but then you're playing like shit, and then people they just lose interest because you're playing like shit. So building a fan base is about, I think a lot of it is, as a player, I think a lot of it is about being sociable and talking to people. It really is okay for you to go talk to a random stranger. Just phrase your words right, and I think you're really alright. I mean, I'm on a podcast. I've been freaking nagging for like the past hour or so, and and I mean, and so far I think it's been great for me to be able to like share my opinion. And man, I just feel like if you really want to build a fan base, just think about what's the right thing to do at the right time. Like for example, like if you're a streamer, maybe you want to do a giveaway or something. Return something to your loyal fan base and stuff like that. I think it's a bit out of my hands to try and explain this because I'm not as knowledgeable about it. Because I'm basically, honestly, like at the base foundation, I'm just a player. So I'm more of like how to build myself as a player.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I understand. So, talking about fans, I want to share this interesting experience I had once. So the first time I actually met ImpressioN, it was in game. I think I told you about it. It was during the old Inferno era, and we were in the T side, and people would just I wouldn't even have to do it. I would just sit there, AFK. ImpressioN would go in. He would clean up banana all by himself, and I was like, am I even needed here anymore? And that, I think, is the time when I became a big fan of yours. So I'm a really big fan.
I think back then the models were still like really chunky, right? They're still really weird looking models. And then like Inferno still had the freaking roof over the A side.
A side.
The entirety. Yeah.
Even in Banana, there were a couple of pillars and roofs.
So those pillars, man.
they were really annoying.
Aim duo thing, right? Like the pre-fire angle is so easy. The guy's at car, you just go like into Banana and go like whoop, pop, and he dies. That's probably the only reason why I could like clean up Banana, because I was so used to the angle.
Yeah.
What's your favorite map? Personally.
Oh man, right now it's Cash, but right now I don't get to play it anymore.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I've liked Cash for quite a while already, because Cash is a flat map, so all your angles are flat. So I literally do not have to move my crosshair up or down. I just move
sideways.
my mouse left to right, right? So it's just like everything shade angle. All right, freaking perfect, man. I love it.
Makes sense.
That's it. So let's see if we have any more interesting questions in the chat. I did see one. Wait a second. I'm just gonna try to bring it up. My bad. Sina, do you see any interesting question that you
I
would
saw a
like to
couple.
take
I
up?
think we've covered them.
We did?
That's all. I think so. Let's see.
Come on, I mean, viewers, you are free to ask anything you want. ImpressioN is right here.
Vivek asks, what was the growth you needed to make as a team so that you could qualify for Cologne?
What were the what? Sorry?
What was the growth you needed to make as a team so that you could qualify for Cologne?
I think growth as a team to qualify for Cologne was very mechanical. A lot of it was actually making sure we play the most correct type of CS to actually make sure that we follow the game plan and then get the momentum in the game. Right now, CS is a lot about momentum, right?
True.
Then you get a lot. You follow the game plan. You already have a plan in mind, and then eventually it just goes with the flow. Like the momentum just brings you, brings you to like the peak play of like the tournament, and then you just do well, right? Like personally, when we played Tyloo, for some reason I went insane, like statistically. But honestly, when I was playing the entire thing, I wasn't thinking of much. I wasn't doing anything special. There was no special ritual that I did. I drank a shit ton of caffeine. it's just my I just like caffeine, right? But then for me personally, when I was playing, the frags didn't matter. what mattered to me was making sure my team was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing to basically executing the site for example on the terrorist side, and then like
Understood.
coordinating the team, getting us on the same wavelength, and then we just going together. And then I personally did the best in that series, but when I actually think about it, I didn't do anything special. I just did what I was like what I practiced, what I trained to do, and it just all worked out for us. So yeah, I think growth as a team was mechanical, in the sense where we did a lot of dry running. We made we found out which strats were useful, which strats were the ones that we needed to use during a tournament, and then we brought it all out when it really mattered. And I think a lot of it was just practice and then practicing smart.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, we have been going on for like about an hour now.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions in chat? If there's not, then we'll start to wrap things up.
I think that's all. I don't see any more questions. I see Impressions has found his way to the chat and is interacting with people now, which is how you develop the fan base that we were talking about.
Yeah.
What does Tommy eat every day to get good online? Not sure. That's like an insult and somewhat of a compliment. Yeah, that's Tyron, one of the Singaporean players that's kind of been on the up and up. And yeah, one of those players that I really wish to see like attend regional lands and stuff and do well, like online especially. That's always a start. So yeah, I mean that's why I feel like Singapore is such a weird country to play in, and at the same time we're kind of lucky to play from here because we have good internet infrastructure, but then everything else just sucks, right? So just gotta do our best, yeah.
Rishi asks, "Are you any plans of coming down to India? He wants to meet you."
I want to meet him.
Man, if I ever have to go to India, I have to meet a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but personally, I do have holiday plans, but I wish, and from what I hear, is that there's going to be like tournaments that will bring us to India. So maybe that will happen. I
Tell
can't
us
be
more
sure.
about this. Now that you've said it, let's hear
well,
more about it.
I honestly haven't heard that much. I just hear that there's gonna be tournaments, and then India's gonna be involved. So yeah, let's see how it goes, man.
You spoke about how the scene is in Singapore, like in the previous question. Other than the usual barriers, like skill level and everything else that's related to CS, what are the other barriers, especially in Singapore, that stand in your way? I'm talking about like parental pressure or how studies get involved. Is the government helpful enough? The politics and the underbelly of Singaporean CS. How does that look like?
I think honestly, first of all, the biggest obstacle for gaming would be national service, because you have to spend 2 years in the army, right? And then
That's
you
compulsory.
barely have time. Yeah, it's compulsory, and you barely have any time to do anything other than, well, like 2 days every week that you're basically out of camp or the army base or whatever, right? So that's one of the biggest issues. And I think will be the fact that no matter how you look at it, Singapore is an Asian country. Parental pressure means a lot. And
Asian
study,
parents, typical Asian parents.
yeah, like very typical things. And I think this is a cultural thing, right? Where it's important for us to study. It's important for us to, get good grades, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become a this, become a that, right? Like nobody cares. Nobody cares what you want to be, except for what your parents want you to be. That's the only thing that they care about, right? So this is kind of where parental pressure comes in. I'm really fortunate because my mom supports me, and then my dad eventually started supporting me as well because I was winning stuff, right? It was just like $50, and then I bring my dad out to eat roti canai, like prata, Wow, then he's like happy. Oi, you winning money? Okay, good. And
Nice.
so I eventually convinced my dad, I can do this for a living. Work hard enough for it. But parental pressure, national service, school is a bitch, and you have to keep up with the grade.
Are you done with your studies, Impressions?
I personally dropped out of school in secondary school. I'm not sure how the education system works in India, but for us, we follow the UK education system, so I dropped out in secondary school. And then I went to the army at when I was 18. So like basically the moment I was the moment that I could be conscripted, they conscripted me. I went in 18. I came out 20 or close to 21. So I have plans to go back to study, but for now I think it's a bit difficult because the amount of time to put into CS to actually be good is so much. And,
Yeah.
That you don't have time
And-
left for anything else.
yeah, and being good at CS is something I really wish to be, and for myself and for my team as well. Right?
Great. I think it has been a pleasure. Impressions. Thank you so much for taking out the time today.
Yeah, no problem, man.
We love to have you on
Good.
stream.
Yeah.
And we would love to see Boo Dreamscape trash everyone else at ESL Cologne and every
Oh,
other
man.
tournament that comes up
Yeah.
later.
I'm sure we've got folks in India definitely rooting for you and Boot Dreamscape at Cologne. I might possibly be there, so I might meet you. And
Oh,
we
right,
will
right.
Oh, now you're being cocky, Sina.
I'm saying I'm gonna meet him.
Oh,
There
you
we
said
go.
meet.
That's
No,
the
no, no.
first.
I
That's the
thought
first
you-
RA of the stream, bro.
No, I heard Sina say I'm gonna beat him. I'm like he's gonna 1v1 against him. But
Beat
yeah,
him.
Oh,
no man, my bad. Sorry. But
What?
yeah, because let's be honest, if you do try to 1v1 impression,
I'd beat him though.
okay. See, now that's being cocky.
now that's
So
now that it's
I've
out
first-
there on the internet. On the internet,
Yeah.
we gotta see
Yeah.
what happens, man.
Great, man.
Because as someone who's first-hand experienced how terrorizing impressions can be in the game, yeah, it's very scary. So impressions once again, thanks for coming in today. He did speak a lot about Equitas, and for all the viewers out there, I want to point out that we do have a podcast with Equitas as well. It's on our channel. You should check it out as well. And yep, that's pretty much it from our side. Impressions. Good luck, and that's it.
See you in Cologne.
Thanks
Same to
very much for having me. I
you
think,
guys.
yeah. See you guys, man.